You know, we had a meeting once with an Army dietitian, and I wanted to ask a question and get a real answer. How much coffee is too much? And of course, every old head in the room said, oh, there's no such thing as too much coffee. And as annoying as I found that answer, I think they were right. Also, don't be too confused by the coffee mug. My name is not Sergeant Mueller. We'll get a little story time some other day. So keeping in the spirit of the last video, which you guys seem to like, of me just sitting here drinking coffee and talking about my life, I figured I'd talk about something that's pretty near and dear to me, because for the last 10 years of my life, the one occupation I definitely have always been, at least on paper and professionally, is a soldier with the Army National Guard. And yes, please insert all your nasty girl jokes in the comments. I would love to partake. Most of my time in the Army was spent in the communications field, in the IT field, but in the more current stages of my life with the military, I've had the fortune to do, well, just make videos. Whether that's with our public affairs office for the state, our public affairs detachment for the Army Guard, or the recruiting office for the Army, I've made a ton of stuff. News coverage, recruiting videos, recaps of events, and also mini docs. And it's through my time in the military and filmmaking with them that I learned a lot of valuable stuff. And the Six Shop is all about bridging that gap of soldier and creative. So today, I'm gonna do something that I've yet to see anything on YouTube about, which is talk about what the Army taught me about filmmaking. And I'll start with getting an easy one out the way. Filming in the Army is an absolute masterclass in run and gun filmmaking. Run and gun and guerrilla filmmaking really gets a terrible rep. Anytime people hear that phrase, they kind of make it synonymous with unprofessional, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like any other form of shooting, guerrilla and run and gun filmmaking is just another technique of how filmmakers get their products done. And like any other technique, you gotta do it to get better at it. And I'll tell you what, doing videos for the Army where the schedule is very much against you, you learn real quick how to run and gun. Because you can't just run back to the armorer and say, hey, I need more bullets so that I can get more footage of the M4 qualification test. Or if I'm following guys doing an exercise and they gotta conduct an ambush, well, I got one chance at that ambush. And it's in realizing that and having numerous fuck-ups that you start to understand when things are going to happen. You start to get a little bit of that insight, and that's the key with run and gun filmmaking. It's literally looking at your surroundings and being able to somewhat predict what's about to come so you can get the shot, but also just your ability to quickly snap to the next thing. Ooh, that was sassy. And it took me a long time to really nail this one down. I still go on shoots and I miss things that I'm never going to recover again, but I'm at a point where I'm willing to go out there and just whip out all the coverage I can so that I can walk away with a decent product. And also, because I'm doing run and gun all the time, I've become very, I don't like toot my own horn, but if there's one thing I'm gonna toot, it's my proficiency with natural light. And doing all this run and gun guerrilla filmmaking has made me very keen to that ability to just, know what the sun's doing, know what my surroundings are doing, and just get a good shot. But of course, with run and gun filmmaking, you're also telling a good story, and you're just gonna get better and better at obtaining that coverage and walking away with more gained elements than lost. Another thing the military kind of taught me about filmmaking is, well, this may sound kind of boring and counterintuitive to the creative process, but the importance of chain of command. Now, I want to make it very clear, no film should be run like a military organization. Let the Army be the Army and let a film set be the film set. But what we can borrow from is the structure of leadership. Quite frankly, knowing when to stay in your lane. Maybe I can word that better. making sure there isn't too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, that's nicer. And I can sum this up in 2 things. 1, everybody on a film set has their job for a reason. For the same reason that every soldier in a squad has an assigned task, whether you're a grenadier, a machine gunner, the point man, squad leader, the radio man, you all have that task for a reason, and you gotta be damn good at it. And because you're put in that lane, you have to trust that everyone else in their positions is going to perform. You might have some insight, you might have some ability to do their job, which is good. You should always know the jobs of everyone else, but that doesn't mean you have to do the jobs of everyone else. Only when the time is necessary should you have to do that. I, as say the director, am not gonna go up to my gaffer or my lighting crew and tell them how they should put up a C-stand or how they should rig up a light. They're the pros at the safety, they're the pros at that. I'm gonna let them do that and just simply give them my intent. I'm not gonna go to the DP and completely take over their cinematography. And that's a hard one for me because I started as a cinematographer. I have to respect as the director that I picked the cinematographer and put him in that position for a reason. And then I had to realize as a director, people know to come to me for directing related questions. But at the same time, there is that little bit of flexibility where you have to understand that a good idea can come from anyone. And that's especially something you get in the Guard because I, about a year ago, was deployed and I was in a leadership position, but the people that I was surrounded by were as smart or smarter than me in the subject matter. So I trusted myself to manage the soldiers, to make sure they're in the right time and place and do all the yada yada admin crap, whatever. I constantly relied on their knowledge and their opinions to help make me make a better decision. So although they weren't trying to completely take my job and hop in my lane, they weren't afraid to tell me a good idea when the time was necessary. You got a job to do, and so does everyone else. And you just gotta know the right time to bring up an idea, because it might be genius, but you just gotta make sure it's appropriate, that's all. And no matter if you're the director, the DP, the producer, whatever, no one is above the story. The story is the 5-star general. Don't ever get that twisted. Next thing I wanna talk about is something that I think a lot more of us need to start taking better care of. You need to take care of yourself as much as you take care of your gear and your product. In the Soldier's Creed, there's a section that says, I will maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself. I think I can already hear the service members groaning watching this video. Sorry. Seriously, if we take that for what it is, a soldier has to take care of themselves. You know, they might have to be a weapon, but they always have to be fit, they have to be ready, they have to be trained, and the gear they use also has to be up to that standard. I think filmmakers stray away from that sometimes. During my time filming with the National Guard, I have filmed in a ton of different scenarios that are either super easy or extremely taxing. And there is nothing worse than filming all day, getting completely exhausted and burnt out, and then you lose all ability, and worse, you lose all desire to get a good shot and to capture the best parts of the story. You don't want to get that extra interview. You don't want to huff that extra mile to get the 6th shot or to follow the exercise. You don't want to keep up to pace with the people you're following. So you have to look at yourself and you have to make sure that you're at least keeping some semblance of physical fitness and physical health. Now, I'm not saying you gotta be an Olympian athlete to do this crap. That's not what I'm saying at all. If anything, stick to the fundamentals of your health. Make sure you're friggin' hydrated. I've had days where I didn't drink a lot of water, or I was so honed in on filming I forgot to eat. And then, you know, a couple hours later, I was done. Because not every shoot's gonna be, you know, show up, get some B-roll, get an interview, and bounce. Sometimes, if, say, an officer candidate school exercise is going on and they're out in the woods all day, you might have to be in the woods all day to get the entire story. If a special forces team is practicing reconnaissance and they want some video of it in the very big hills of Montana, well, guess where you're going. Hope you're ready for it. Another thing I learned, and this is actually one I learned very recently through the same man that taught me I need to sell myself more, and that is your products are currency. And this goes so far beyond the final product. When you go out to these organizations and you film for them, or you go out to these musicians and do a music video or a crew with a short film, you gotta understand that the bare minimum of your job is to do whatever you gotta do to make sure the film gets complete. Where the extra part in this currency comes in though, is when you do the little things that, well, you're probably not getting paid for and you're not getting anything in return. When we went out to Montana to go film with Special Forces, there was some times where we got some really cool shots. We got some very personal pictures. We got some very blooper-esque moments. And the team really appreciated when we gave them that stuff. It was something personally for them. It's a keepsake for them. And all of a sudden, you become more than just a guy there to film the training. You've now made a connection that could potentially last a lifetime. And that connection could be as simple as, I just made a friend. And it's somebody I know when I go to other trainings. That's something I try to do now as well, as much as I can. That could be getting behind the scenes stills for your directors so that maybe they want to make a YouTube video out of their film one day. Putting together a little reel for your actors of your film so that they can build upon their acting reel because, you know, your actor might not be an editor. It's so important to solidify these connections because, you know, you can't do this alone. And it's more than just the business aspect of making these connections. It's just the, you know, it's so much more fun when you show up somewhere and they're like, oh, look, it's Roar, man. We saw that last video you sent us. That was sick. You know, we're happy to have you here. Here, let me show you around. Rather than, oh, public affairs is here. And then you're just kind of on your own, standing there awkwardly with a camera. So make those friendships, make those connections, go the extra mile for the people that you're crafting for. And I promise you, it'll only behoove you in the end. And my final thing I want to talk about is, it is possible to have more than one dream. To get very personal, yeah, for the past 10 years, I have been a soldier in the National Guard, but my ultimate dream in life is in fact filmmaking. There is nothing else on this planet I would rather do than create stories through the medium of film. But it's really fucking hard. If you're a filmmaker and you're watching this, you know I don't have to tell you that. And it's so damn hard to make consistency out of it, especially without, you know, dropping everything and selling your car to go get a shitty apartment in New York or Los Angeles or something. But as a kid, I grew up loving the Army. Not to get all, you know, hyper patriotic on you, but I was 10 years old watching the History Channel and catching up on Band of Brothers. When I was in middle school, I practically could teach the invasion of D-Day. And it wasn't even so much that. I then saw more than just, you know, guys fighting the war. I saw these people that, in some shapes, they're guardians or they're just helpers for their community. And that's something I just really wanted to be a part of. That was a lineage I wanted. And only my grandpa before me was ever in the military, so I kind of wanted to bring that back up for my family. And, you know, like anyone else who has served in the military, you've had your really bad times and you've had your really good times. It's a lot of ups and downs. And I got to a place where I was very stagnant. And then one day, the Guard figured out what I did. And who would have ever thought that in the U.S. Army, that my occupation would be to make videos for the Army? And not to, you know, make a complete friggin' recruiting ad out of this, but it really was amazing to see an organization see the skills I could do and utilize them and put me in an environment where I could thrive. And I have met so many people, have gone so many fun, interesting places, and have got to see almost every aspect of the military through the eyes of a filmmaker. And with how hard filmmaking can be, it's nice to know that I do have another home that I can fall back on. It's something that if I go out and, you know, I chase the dream, I try to make that feature film, I try to make that next short film, and it just doesn't work out, I have something to fall back on that's so much more than an outlet for money. It's a place where I can still hone my craft. It's a place where I can still present amazing stories and cultivate these relationships that I've made over the past 10 years that I will never forget. And although filmmaking is the ultimate dream, that dream of being a soldier is still there too. And to combine the two really has been an honor and a pleasure, and I hope you also can combine your dreams as well. Look at the organization you're in, look at the path you're on, and make sure you look down every friggin' avenue and see where those other homes can be. Don't get so tunnel visioned on this dream of filmmaking that you lose sight of everything else you love on this world. And listen, and I might go a few years back on an active service with the Guard, which I've done before. I've got about maybe 4 years total in active service. And I'll go back to trying to make that feature film or that short film a couple years later. We got a long life to live, and if my fallback is to pursue my passion while being in an organization I idolized as a kid, sounds like a deal to me. I want to quickly go over this absolutely killer comment from the last video from Jay Chow. Firstly, amazing video, much needed, thank you. But I think you mean cavalry. Unless you're telling me to become the hill where Jesus was crucified. Man, that is a spicy typo. No, I did not mean the hill where Jesus was crucified. That's my bad. Ooh, I didn't show Ray a last video. It's not a good video unless you see my beautiful little cavapoo. Why aren't you interested in me? This has been Davis with The Six Shop. Hope to see you on the next video. Take care, everyone.